let's go ahead and bring on our expert. Let's bring on Patrick de Haan from GasBuddy to join us here on this Monday morning. Patrick, as always, thanks so much for taking a little time to join us. I hope your Monday is going well. Based on some changes that we saw following those failed negotiations, the announcement of the blockade, what are you observing in terms of oil prices here?
Oil prices up sharply this morning. Retail gas prices, though, the last couple of days have been inching downward. All of that developed because of the drop in oil prices we saw last Wednesday. You mentioned the ceasefire. That caused oil prices to plunge significantly. That led retail gas prices to start inching a little lower. Statewide average in Virginia today is back below the $4 mark. It's down about 8 cents in the last week to 3.99, but now, with this new blockage of the Strait of Hormuz being announced, oil is back above that $100 a barrel level. And that could then again start pushing gas prices up here in the next couple of days. And how high we go is really going to be contingent. Kind of a couple things I'm watching for over the next 48 to 72 hours. Central Command, that is U.S. Central Command, clarified that this is going to be a blockage of Iran's ports, not necessarily the strait. So I'm going to see what is going to move? Will anything move through the strait? That's really been, from the oil market's perspective, the most important factor. You cited that some vessels, I think you've mentioned 40 vessels moved through since the ceasefire. That's really what we're kind of waiting to see. If something can be done to essentially restore the flow of traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. If it doesn't help, if ships kind of stay anchored, well, gas prices could continue climbing in the weeks ahead. But if the U.S. is successful on reopening the strait and the ships start moving, we could start to see oil and gasoline prices going back down. So, again, a fork in the road here on what happens over the next couple of days. But there's been a lot of these forks in the last couple of weeks.
And Patrick, you mentioned how gas prices low here after the promising oil price drop over the weekend. So can we consistently expect a delay? International events occur, oil prices react to that, gas prices react here in the United States. We kind of lay out that delay for the impacts to actually hit us. Would you say that today is an ideal time for people to go to the pump and fill up their tanks, knowing that that delay is actually going to eventually turn to higher prices based on what we're seeing?
Yeah, probably wouldn't be a bad idea here in the very short term. If you're on E today or maybe first thing tomorrow, I probably wouldn't wait. I went out and filled up my tank this morning. Might be a better bet. And to your point, there is a bit of a delay both on the downside and on the upside. Last week, Wednesday's big plummet in the price of oil didn't really start to hit pumps until Friday, Saturday, and yesterday when prices started going down more noticeably. And they may take a couple of days to hit prices going up. So I do believe that across Virginia, we could start to see prices trickling back up. Could happen today. It may start tomorrow. But with oil up significantly, there's going to be pressure on stations to raise prices rather soon.
And when we talk about that up and down, the roller coaster in prices that we've experienced in this war, it can go up just as quickly as it goes down based on a Truth Social post, based on a ceasefire, based on an attack. That roller coaster, when psychological impacts on consumers here in the United States, what kind of impact does that have on people's mental as they try to budget and they try to figure out what expenditures they have to account for?
I mean, a lot of that surfaced in University of Michigan consumer sentiment scores, which dropped to their lowest on record. That really does take a lot out of Americans when they're constantly seeing prices go up, up, up each time they go to the pump, whether they need it or not. So there is already a mental psyche that's being hit. Morale of Americans is rather low when they continue to see gas prices going up in a way that just seems uncontrolled. So, I think we're going to start seeing consumers respond as these prices may remain elevated. So far for many Americans, this has only really lasted a month or maybe 6 weeks. So you're talking 2 or 3 paychecks. But the longer this persists, the more it's going to really hit consumer discretionary spending. And that's going to start to cause the flashing lights for the U.S. economy if discretionary spending continues to decline.
And something that we've talked about here based on some reporting that we've had is that consumer spending, then you see the tentacles start to spread throughout the economy and impact the tourism industry, the service industry, things like that, the retail industry. But There's also the factor of diesel fuel I've seen at times is more harshly impacted by the up and down fluctuations that we've seen, which in turn could affect supply chains and could affect 18-wheeler travel back and forth. I'm wondering and what I've been reading is how accurate is that diesel is impacted perhaps a little bit differently than regular, and why would that be the case if so?
Well, it absolutely is. Diesel demand is more inelastic. Just because diesel prices are high doesn't mean the logistics and supply chains can stop, right? If you're a company producing goods, it doesn't really matter what the price of diesel is. You can't just stop these assembly lines. You can't stop production. And so diesel generally sees more demand, and it's less inelastic, or I should say it's less elastic. Consumers, we can just say, well, we're not going to go to the store, or we're going to combine drips, or we're going to stay closer to home. So that responds more to price. Diesel doesn't really respond to price. The other thing to consider is diesel and heating oil are kind of very similar products, and we're coming out of winter when heating oil consumption was higher. Diesel supplies are lower as a result. Not only that, but out of a barrel of oil, there's a lot more gasoline produced than diesel. So you see prices going up more for things that are produced less, like jet fuel. Production of jet fuel is even less than diesel, and prices have virtually doubled. Diesel prices have gone up 66%. There's a little more diesel in every barrel than there is jet fuel. And that's why gasoline prices have seen the smallest impact so far, because most of what comes out of a barrel of oil is gasoline. Refineries can tinker with those yields a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's really what is produced in smallest volumes that is impacted the most.
And you talk about not only the impact on supply chains and individual consumers maybe going on long road trips, but jet fuel is also impacted here, meaning we could see elevated prices at airports. I'm wondering, are you able to summarize what kind of impact this could potentially have on spring break tourism and then into that early summer tourism season that is so popular for travel, especially here in Hampton Roads, that has a major impact on our economy? What do you guys typically see high gas prices having an impact on tourism? How much is there that could potentially dampen that season?
Well, it certainly depends on how high prices go and how prohibitive it becomes for consumers to travel. Right back in 2008, it was staycation, and back in 2022, we heard that staycation word coming back. So when prices go up as quickly as they have, it's not uncommon for Americans to start saying, "Hey, I don't know if we can afford the trip, the flight, all the expenses. Maybe we need to stay closer to home," and that's probably starting already. Airfares, to your point, up 10 to 20%. Checked baggage fees going up. And those increases may have to continue so long as those prices for jet fuel continue to elevate. Supply chains dealing with it as well. Fuel surcharges are coming back. Delivery services are getting hit hard. So, you may see a lot more interest in consumers that may just have to scale back on their travel plans because the cost of fuel is becoming too prohibitive.
We appreciate the update. As always, Patrick, whenever we talk to you, you do such a good job of giving us a sense at the broad impacts. It's so easy to go to the pump, see that elevated cost, but the tentacles reach so much wider than that. We really appreciate you giving even extra insight on those impacts. Is there anything else you want to add before we let you go this morning?
Well, it's going to be a bumpy ride here over the next couple of weeks. And unless there's any resolution that's concrete and definitive, we may be seeing a wide range in prices that are possible this summer. If things go well, there's still the possibility that prices could be somewhere in the $3 range this summer. But the longer this goes on, the more likely we are to see $4 hang around. And there's still the distinct possibility that we could see record-setting gas prices if this is not fully addressed in the weeks ahead.
All right, Patrick, we appreciate it. And, I'm sure we'll see you again before long. We appreciate all of the information as always. So thanks so much for joining us. We hope you have a great week here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And as Patrick said, as long as this stretches on, we could see major, major effects, not just on your wallet when you fill up your gas, but on retail, tourism, travel, air travel. So a situation that is indeed very serious, and that, as he said, as it stretches on, continues to get worse. And as we see peace talks fail and blockades be implemented, continues to get worse.